Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Folks, these are three really common questions that I often find in comments, I often find on Twitter. I'm asked about this stuff quite a bit, and instead of responding with the usual again and again, I decided to put out a quick video to answer these. So the first question that usually comes up is, why do you still have weak hadiths in your classical works? Why aren't these hadiths removed? Well, they're not removed because that would be a betrayal of the author, one, and it will be a betrayal of the trust of readers too. The reader wants the original work by the author. So if you're gonna take things out, then you're going to be cheating the reader, right? That's the first point. But like hypothetically, even if narrations were removed from classical works, what critics of Islam would do is they'll be like, aha, you guys are manipulating your own hadiths, you're manipulating your own works, shame on you Muslims. So yeah, and again, it would be a betrayal. So that's why it doesn't happen. What does happen though is you will have footnotes that indicate whether a hadith is authentic or weak. I mean, so that's a very good solution. Another thing that you will sometimes find is you'll have a new version of a work, and clearly on the title, it will say Sahih version of this work. So you know what you're getting, you know what you're buying, right? So what would happen is, for example, Tarikh al-Tabari, you'd have a Tarikh al-Tabari, the history of al-Tabari, and what recently, I don't know, it was about 15 years ago or something, you had a Sahih Tarikh al-Tabari in which the editors focused on gathering the authentic narrations and printing that, right, on its own. They also did another section for Dha'if Tarikh al-Tabari, where they collected the weak reports in the history of al-Tabari. So you have stuff like that occurring. So yeah, that's the quick answer to why do you still have weak hadiths in your works? Well, yeah, so quickly, very briefly, you do not want to manipulate or tamper with the works of classical scholars. That's not something that decent people do. If they're going to make any sort of change, you're going to have to include in the title. The reader needs to know what they're reading, what they're getting, what they're buying, right? So that's the first point. Of course, one would be asking, well, why do they even have weak hadiths in the first place? Multiple reasons. In many cases, they include weak hadiths to strengthen stronger hadiths, or to strengthen a hadith that is already established. Sometimes they collect weak hadiths to show you that it's a weak hadith, and you'll find many works that clearly state, like at Tirmidhi, for example, he'll mention a hadith and he'll say this hadith is actually rejected. Sometimes they'll quote a hadith in order to prove to you that a narrator is a liar. So they have loads of reasons why they collected weak hadiths as well. Okay, that's the first question. Second question is usually something along the lines of, hey, you Muslims authenticate hadiths that you like and reject hadiths that you dislike. And I don't even know, when people say this, are they really being sincere? Because any critic of Islam, I'm sure they're aware that they're quoting things from like al-Bukhari and Muslim when criticizing Islam. And they know that these narrations are authentic according to Muslims, and that Muslims accept these reports that are being brought forward to them. The average educated Muslim will be like, yeah, this is authentic. However, I have an issue with your understanding of the hadith. Usually the Muslim will not reject the hadith, okay? And also vice versa. We have narrations that are like merits for the Prophet, peace be upon him, miracles of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that Muslims themselves reject. And I'll give you one example. The narration in which the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Abu Bakr were escaping Mecca, and they were surrounded by the polytheists in the cave. And what happened then was some spiders came and they built a web around the cave. And this narration, it's quite a famous, popular narration. However, it does not meet the standards of an authentic hadith, which is why you have some classical scholars that have simply said, yeah, this is a rejected report, this specific hadith is weak. So even though it's something that would be used to strengthen Islam. It's something that we reject because the hadith does not meet the standards. And the third question that comes up is, the third criticism. The authors of hadith works are the compilers. The authors of hadith works are the compilers, the authors of hadith works are the ones who fabricated hadiths. And hadiths are 250 years old, 300 years old, whatever. Okay, so this is like is quite an archaic criticism. And folks, critics of Islam, you need to be aware that this is something that critics of Islam, that intellectual Western academics have moved on from this because of how bad this argument is. You see, the compilers of hadith, the ones that passed away in like the year 250 to the year 300, they're not the sole sources for these hadiths. So you'll find, for example, Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawood, all narrating a single hadith. They're narrating the same thing. And they're not narrating it from one another. They're narrating it from different people. So what would happen is those different people would be narrating it from other different people. And usually what happens is those others are narrating it from a common source. And that common source would usually be someone from the 1st century or someone from the early 2nd century. So folks like Zuhri or Sulaiman bin Mihran al-A'mash or Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i. And of course, they're quite early compared to al-Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawood. So you have, again, al-Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawood quoting these people. So folks in Western academia have pushed hadiths forward instead of pushing them back, and started to accuse these early narrators of fabricating these reports instead of this view that the compilers of hadiths fabricated these reports. Because, I mean, the data conflicts with this. And I guess the only reason that the idea that al-Bukhari fabricated hadiths or Muslim fabricated hadiths, the only reason why arguments like these are popular is because folks in my comments watch garbage on YouTube, right? The folks that are popular are not folks that are educated in Islam or in criticisms of Islam. And yeah, due to that, they use these arguments that have been rejected by intellectual critics of Islam. Okay, so that's all I have for you folks today. I don't want to be on here for too long. I hope you guys found this beneficial, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.